Hello, my name is Misty. I'm with Simplistic, and today we are going to make our beautiful jewel encrusted pens. Now, this color was not available to you. This was a dark cyan, but we had other colors for you to choose from. Today, I am going to be using our beautiful sapphire nightfall. Okay, but there's a few things we need to do before we can start jeweling. In your kit, you have a pen that is probably in a sleeve. I want you to go ahead and take that pen out of the sleeve. And this is what we're going to work with today. We need to make a couple of things. The first is a tool that we're going to make out of our Velcro strip. Now, I don't care if you use the scratchy side on the inside or the soft side on the inside, whatever works for you. But all I'm looking to do is make a tool in order to keep our jewels in a straight line. Okay, so what we're going to do is wrap our Velcro. Now I'm holding the Velcro with my finger and I'm holding it pretty tight to the pen. Then I'm simply going to roll that Velcro around, attach it to the other end, and just keep rolling it around. Now what I really want when you're all done is a donut, if you will. I have the top and bottom lines straight. Okay, I'm not looking for this. This is not helpful to me. I want it nice and tight to the pen. And I also want both of these edges to be flat and straight. So I'm going to look at this view, and then I'm going to look at this view, and I'm just going to make sure that I have a donut. Now it's tight to the pen, but it also still slides up and down the pen, okay? It's not loose enough to flop around, but it is tight enough that it's going to make contact with our pen as much as possible. Once you've made your donut, you can go ahead and set that aside because we're not going to use it right this second, okay? This is what you should have when you're done. I've got both my top and bottom lines nice and straight, okay? But this is the donut that I have now, okay? So I'm just going to set that aside. Now, the other thing I want to caution you with today is all I'm doing is starting, I want you to recognize the difference between the end that the ink comes out and the clicky end. We are not working on the clicky end. We are working from the end that the pen ink comes out of, okay? So I do not want you to unscrew this end. I want you to unscrew this end, okay? So not the part that goes in and out, but the pointed triangle side. Okay, so we're just going to unscrew that. And we're going to set that piece and our pen piece aside because we're not going to worry about those for right this second. Now, with any project that you do where you're jeweling, prep is the key. Prep is the most important part, okay? So what we're going to do, you have a sanding block in your kit, okay? Mine's obviously been used a couple times. Yours is nice and pristine. You're going to sand your entire pen. Now, if you go this way or this way, it doesn't really matter. All I'm looking for is to go from shiny to matte. Okay, it's kind of hard to see here, but this is the shiny one and this is the matte one. Okay, I also don't want you to sand the part that clicks. All I'm worried about for today is the parts that are between my fingers. Okay, so we're going to sand our project from this tip all the way up to here, not including this part. Okay, so you have two surfaces you can use. They're both big triangle or big rectangles. I don't want you to use these small sides because they're not rough, okay? I'm trying to get the coating that was put on by the manufacturer to keep these from getting scuffed off, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that now. And again, I'm not trying to change the shape of the pen. I'm just trying to get that outer coating off. Okay, so like I said, if you go up and down this way, it's fine. If you want to go back and forth, that's fine too. I prefer for myself to go back and forth. It's easier for me. All I'm doing is taking my sanding block, and if you don't have a sanding block, you could use a nail file, you could use a piece of sandpaper, you could even use steel wool if you wanted. But all I'm trying to do is get my pen for two reasons. One, we're trying to get that outside coating. That's what's making your sanding block black. And we're trying to give the glue something to hang on to. So we're giving our project a bit of a tooth. Okay? And of course, my sanding block went flying while I'm trying to do this. How silly. Okay? So all I'm doing is just going around all the way around my project, getting that shiny off. Now, when you're looking at your pen, if you cannot see any more shiny, it means you got it all. Okay? If you do see little strips of shiny, just go back in with your sanding block and sand it off. Now, I'm not sure if you can see the difference between the top pen, which is what we started with, and the bottom pen, which is where we want to be. Okay, so I have used my sanding block and got all that black off of there. Okay, like I said, if you don't see any more shiny, then you're probably exactly where you need to be. I'm not worried about this little thing right here, this little band, as of right now. You're not going to get the shiny off of that. Okay, so if you want to, just very gently go around and sand that off. Or not off. Sand the coating off. Okay, again, I'm not going on that angle. I'm just going on that outer band. Okay, it's still going to be shiny though. That's because of the different piece that's why that looks like. Now, you may have black all over your fingers. Because you're probably watching this from home, you could pause the video right this moment and go wash your hands. If you were in our classroom, I would just give you a wet wipe to wipe your hands off with. So, whichever you so desire, either go wash your hands or use a wet wipe to just wipe that black off of your fingers, okay? All I'm doing is taking that coating that we sanded off of the pen and getting it off my fingers because I don't want to reapply it back to the pen. Okay, so that's what I use my baby wipes for. I'm not using this yet. This is my alcohol wipe. I'm just getting that black stuff off of my fingers and my hands because I don't want it to go back onto my project. Okay, otherwise you could go stop the video and go wash your hands. Either way, perfectly fine. I just want to get that black stuff off of my fingers. Okay, now your alcohol prep pad. If you have more of these at home, great, you can use them more often. But for right now, what I want you to do when you go to open this prep pad, I don't want you to just rip into it because you want to use it more than once. This is not a medical situation, so it's perfectly fine to use these more than once. So all I'm doing is going at the very, very top of my alcohol wipe, and I'm just very gently tearing this top off because I want to be able to put the alcohol wipe back in and fold it over. Now, this is not going to last for all eternity. It will eventually dry out, but for today's purpose, all you're going to do is fold that over when you're not using it. If you've got more at home, great. If you don't, you just have alcohol and a paper towel, fantastic. That works just as well. Okay, but what we're going to do with the alcohol wipe today is now clean our pen barrel. Okay, so you probably won't see any black come off of the pen and onto the alcohol wipe, and that's okay. But I still want you to clean it off using this alcohol wipe. The alcohol wipe will get the oils from our fingers as well as anything else that might still be on there off. Now when I'm done with this, I'm just going to fold it over, tuck it away back into my little packet here, and fold it over so I can use it again. Like I said, you won't be able to use it forever. This will eventually dry out and you'll either have to get a new one or you'll have to get alcohol on a paper towel. That works just fine as well. Now we are ready to start jeweling, okay? So you have a packet of 2 mm Austrian crystals. They are genuine crystals from Austria. The only thing sparklier is a diamond. I would not dump my entire bag out on my mat just because I would be afraid that they would go everywhere. So I'm just going to take a few of these and dump them out. I am just using a mouse pad. Whatever works for you is fine. Okay, then I'm going to take these, and I want the colored side up. If you see the silver side, I don't want that part up. I want the silver side up. So yes, these are teeny little critters, but they have to be the size to fit on to the pen barrel. If we did anything larger, we would be concerned about about the crystals coming off. Okay, so now I have all my crystals sitting right here. Now let's talk about our glue. In your kit, you have my favorite glue. It is called Super Tight Fusion Tack, and I use it for all my projects except fabric, but that's not the glue's fault. That's my fault. I haven't quite mastered it yet as far as curing time and other things of that nature. So I cannot speak to how it works on fabric. I have not mastered that yet. But I use this on every project that I use, either with leather, plastic, wood, acrylic, metal. This is the glue I use. We sell this glue on our website, or if you go to a trade show, we have it there as well. This glue is what you're using today in this glue bottle. This glue is sort of viscous. It's like white school glue. It's of that viscosity, okay? But since you probably have a glue bottle where all of your glue is settled in the bottom, we need to get it to the tip, okay? And I don't want you to do this. I never want the needle tip of this bottle to hit your work surface because it will then knock the needle into the bottle. But I still need you to aggressively, and I mean aggressively, I'm not talking about like this, I'm talking about this. I'm aggressively getting that glue down to the needle tip. If you can't get it down, I want you to loosen your glue bottle lid, okay, because you may have a bubble. Tighten it back up. Then I want you to pull the cap off and let that, you may have a bubble here, and then shake it, okay? But literally, I am aggressively shaking this glue from this end to this end. Now you have plenty of glue to do this project. If you need more of the glue to do more projects, I use this glue. I could probably do 25 or 30 pens with this bottle of glue, okay? You have more than enough in your bottle to get through this project. You may, however, need to burp the tip, burp the neck, and then aggressively shake that glue down to get it down to the bottom. Then once you shake it back down, I don't want you to set your bottle up right. Leave it on its side. That way all that glue won't migrate back down to the bottom. Excuse me. Once you can see your glue up here, you've burped everything and everything's moving, and you take this off and give the bottle a little bit of a squeeze, you should see that glue coming out. Okay? If you're not there yet, perhaps you want to pause the video and get your glue down to where it needs to be. The other thing with this glue is I liken it to rubber cement. When I was a kid, we would put rubber cement on our hands and make it flat and then roll it off. I absolutely do that all the time with my glue. Okay? So now we've got our pen, we've got our tools, we've got everything we need to work on our pen. Okay? Now, industry standard, the standard for rhinestoning, crystalling, which we are using beautiful crystals, is to use the amount of glue that is half the size of your thing that you are crystal, the size of the crystal that you're using. Okay? I cannot, even at my stage in life, get a 1 mm dot of glue. These are 2 mm crystals. Very hard to get 1 mm of glue onto your projects. But let me show you. This amount of glue is perfect. Now, is it hard to see that dot? Absolutely. and I don't really want to go out of focus. So let me just kind of show you where I'm at with that. Okay, it's a very small dot. Now I'm going to over exaggerate slightly, but I want to do so to prove a point. If I have too much glue, which that is considerably more than the glue I just used, all I'm going to do is take the needle tip of my glue bottle and very gently spread that glue around. I'm trying to avoid big clumps of glue. I'm just trying to spread that evenly. I'm not going over this edge. I'm just spreading that glue around. Okay, I just use the needle tip of my bottle. Then, using my crystal katana, which I hope everyone has, I'm very gently going to pick up that 2mm crystal. It's on the tip of my katana, and I'm going to lay it down in that glue. Okay, again, one right next to it, but not on top of it, into that glue. A third one right next to that one. Now, these are not piggybacking on top of each other. They're laying right next to each other, right up against each other. I'm also trying very hard not to get them to go over this edge of my pen. Okay, so I'm just going to keep applying my crystals. That one has a little bit of something on it. One right next to the other. Okay. And I'm using a very gentle hand to both pick up the crystal and to lay it into the glue. If at any time I ever need to add just a little more pressure, I'm going to do so with the needle tip of my katana because it can take it. The wax tip cannot. So I never want to be aggressive with my wax tip. I can be aggressive with my needle tip. Okay, so I got 7 crystals out of that little bit of glue. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit more glue. Just keep going. So again, you'll get better with the amount of glue as you go along. But all I'm doing is laying those crystals right next to each other, not on top of each other, not coming close to each other or over the top of the one next to it. Okay. Now, as I come around to where I began, I do not have enough room to put another crystal right here. I know it's a little bit hard to see, so let me see if I can't zoom in a little bit. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Does everybody see how I don't have enough room right here for another crystal? I don't want to force it. I want these all to lay flat. So really quick, I'm going to count these, and I turn my pen, changing my perspective so I can look at it like a clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 crystals on here. You may get either 12 or 13 crystals around your pen. Okay? What I don't want you to do is force another crystal in there if you don't have the space to fit it. So because I have a space here and I don't want a space there, I'm going to take the needle tip of my katana, and if you don't have a katana, I want you to use the needle tip on your bottle. And I'm just going to manipulate these crystals so that instead of one big space, I just sort of spread those out so that there's a little tiny space in between each crystal. Instead of one crystal getting all of this space, everybody gets a little bit of space. Okay. So let's also talk about this glue for 2 seconds. This glue, as long as it is white, it is wet. Once it is no longer white and starts to be clear, then it's drying. It's not totally dry. And it's going to be a little less adhesive. The adhesion on it is going to go down. So if you're working on this project and your glue starts to go clear, I just want you to put a little bit more glue into it so that it's white again. Okay? So I evenly space that space out so you don't really see one big space. it's evenly spaced around. Now, since we're talking about this perspective, do you see how the backs of all of my crystals are touching my pen barrel? I don't have anybody that's crisscrossing over the top. I call it piggybacking. Okay. Everybody is close to each other or a little far or little spaces between them because we made that space when we evened that space all the way around the barrel. Okay. So we have those. They're all touching. Nobody's piggybacking. Everybody's laying flat. Okay. At this point in class, this is where I would take a couple of minutes to talk because this is where we would need to take a break. So, because this is our foundation row and I want to give this row some time to settle, okay? Because if the foundation row is off, the whole pen is going to be thrown off. So now you can take your donut. I'm sliding it on the end of the clicky part, okay? Not the end we just put the crystals on, but the clicky part. I'm going to slide that down. I'm going to use my work surface, my table, as one side of the sandwich. I'm going to use the Velcro donut as the other side of the sandwich. Let me show you this way. And all I'm going to do is very gently push those down into the crystals. Now, it's hard to see because it's vertical, or yes, vertical. I'm holding the pen on the tip, and all I'm doing is taking that Velcro and very gently pushing it down into the crystals. Okay, so I'm using the Velcro as one side, the table as the other side, just to make sure that those crystals are nice and even. Now, in class, I would say, put your pen like this, and I'm going to talk for 2 minutes. But what I want you to do as the person that is watching this video is just pause the video. Once you get to this point where you have all of your crystals attached all the way around your barrel of your pen, you're going to use your Velcro to push them down so that the Velcro is one side, the crystals are in the middle, and the table is on the bottom so that you're pushing those evenly and getting that foundation row established. At this point, I would say, pause the video, go make yourself a cup of coffee, take the dog for a walk, whatever you need to do, and come back in 10 to 15 minutes just to give your pen time to set up. Okay? If you don't have that kind of time, I want you to give it at least 2 minutes in between now and when you start your next row. So what I'm going to do is talk for just a couple of minutes about my glue. Again, it's called Super Tight Fusion Tack. When it's white, it's wet. Okay? In your kit, you have some instructions about what to do when you finished with your pen. Now, when I say finished, I mean when you put the last crystal on there. Okay? There is a difference between dry, which this glue will be in approximately an hour, and cured, which this glue will not be for at least 7 days. Okay? I live in the state of Colorado. 7 days is a nice number. We have no oxygen and we have no humidity in our air. So this glue will cure in 7 days. If you live in Florida, where it's quite a bit more humid, if you live in Houston, where it's quite a bit more humid, it may take more than 7 days. If you live in Mesa, Arizona, you might get away with 6 days. But you need to give yourself those 7 days, okay? And that time starts when you put your last crystal onto your project. It's 7 days from when you put your last crystal onto your project. What you're going to do is then take your pen barrel, not putting it back together, but set that aside for 7 days. Then once those 7 days have passed, I want you to take your pen, take either a toothbrush that hasn't been in someone else's mouth or a nail brush, a tiny bit of water, and either a drop of soap, dishwashing soap, or I love Dawn Power Wash. Dawn Power Wash works great on everything. And you're just going to gently scrub your pen. Okay? I am not trying to scrub it off. I'm just going to gently scrub it. Okay? Now, this glue does not like to be soaked. So you never want to soak a project like this because the crystals will come off. Can you clean it? Absolutely. I just don't want you to put it in a bowl or sink of water and have it sit in it because water will break down this glue because it is water-based. Okay? Having said that, if you start through your project and things are just not going the way you want them to, pull these crystals off. Just scrape them off with your fingernail. Throw them in a small bowl or a cup with some soapy water and soak them. I am soaking some crystals right now. I know you can't see them because of the bubbles, but you're just going to soak them. Then you can rinse them off, make sure all that glue is off, and reuse your crystals. They are beautiful, hardy crystals that you can absolutely use again. It's perfectly fine to do so. But I don't want you to get frustrated and not love your project if you feel like it's not going exactly the way you want it to. Soak your crystals off, clean them with a little bit of soap and water, dry them off, and use them again. Okay? Because I never want your project not to be something you love. All right? So, if you've paused your project or paused the video and come back, it's been a few minutes, then you're ready to go. I've been talking for enough time that I know that we're probably okay. My pen has been upright this entire time with the Velcro gently pushing down, the table gently pushing up. Okay? You never want to push your crystals so hard that you pop them off. Okay? I'm very, very gently pushing that Velcro in there. Okay? So now we have our first row established. We're ready for our second row. Now what I want to caution you is to not line up your crystals one right underneath the other. We are doing what is called a honeycomb pattern. So this is our first row. Our second row is not lined up directly underneath our first. We're putting our crystal in the V connection right below the two above it. Okay? And that's what we're going to continue to do. So it will look like your pattern is offset, but since we're just doing one color, it's perfectly fine. Okay? So I'm going to set this aside for just one moment, and I'm going to go back in with my glue, and I'm going to put my dot, and I don't care if you do dots or lines, whatever makes you comfortable. I prefer dots. And you see how my glue bottle kind of spit out more glue than I want? I don't want to just leave that there. So again, I'm going to smear with my needle tip that glue around so I don't have any big blobs. Okay. Then again, I'm going to come in with my katana, gentle tap on the crystal, and I'm going to lay it right in the V in between the two above it. Can everyone see that? Okay, and then I'm going to continue. Just going to keep going. Again, because I've got some of that glue smeared around, I can just lay those crystals right in between the two above it. Okay. And again, you can I don't know if you can see or not, my glue has gone clear up here because it's been a few minutes. So that's how I kind of know that my glue is past time of being useful. Something else I'd like to touch on, whatever number of crystal you had in your foundation row is the number you're going to have on your entire pen. You're never going to increase, you're never going to decrease the number of crystals you have on each row. So if your first row had 12, you're always going to have 12. If your first row had 13, you're always going to have 13. Never going to increase, never going to decrease. Now it kind of looks like I have too much glue here, and I do, but that's okay because it's going to dry clear. And then when my project is finished and I've let it set for those 7 days, I can clean up that glue. Okay? So now I'm going to take that needle tip of my pen, or my katana, and I'm very gently going to kind of push everybody into place because I want to make sure that there's nothing overlapping. I'm just going to push those right into place. Now another fun tool that you have that is absolutely free to you is your work surface. Okay, I have gone all the way around my barrel. I have completed my row. Now I can take my pen, put it on the table, hold the end that I am not working on, and just gently roll my pen. And that's going to apply pressure evenly to the crystals to kind of seat them into the glue. Okay? That's something you can do as often as you want. So let's talk about a couple of things while we keep going. Your third row is going to be just like your first row. You're going to apply your little drop of glue, either in a line or in a dot, whatever works for you, and you're going to keep applying your crystals. Excuse me. As you go around, that's the extent of what you're going to do. Put your glue on, put your crystal to the glue, finish your row, okay? Now, how often do you need to use your Velcro? That is totally up to you. If you want to use it after every row, that's fine, but you don't need to continue putting it down to the table unless you want to. If that makes you more comfortable, then you can use that Velcro just to push your crystals down and use the table and the rest of the crystals as leverage. Okay, how often should you roll it? Again, totally up to you. If you want to roll it more often, roll it more often. If you don't feel like you need to do that after every row, by all means, you don't have to. What I do want to tell you is that as you work on your pen, you're touching it. Okay, so if you hold your pen down here, you don't have to start cleaning your pen until you get here. If you hold your pen up here to work on it, you need to clean it where you touched it. So as I'm going down, I don't clean my pen after every row, but I will absolutely give it a quick wipe after 3 or 4 rows. But if I'm holding my pen on the end, I obviously don't need to do that. If I walked away from my project, I would want to clean it again before I started. Okay, so this is the extent in which I'm giving that a quick rub down. Again, putting it back into my little packet and folding it over so I can use it again. If this dries out, put some more alcohol on it. Not complicated that way. Okay, so use your Velcro when you feel like you need to. Roll it when you feel like you need to. And clean it when you get to the point where you're touching where you need to crystal. Okay. In your packet, in your kit, you received a small gift from me, and it is a pattern that I came up with and that my husband helped me choose. And it is sort of clever, if I do say so myself. But what it is, and again, use it, don't use it, is totally up to you. I will not take offense one way or the other. But it is a pattern for a pencil. Looks very much like a pen dressed as a pencil, which I get an absolute kick out of. How clever is this? It's so cute. It's absolutely gorgeous. Okay, and you have that pattern as my gift to you. Do something with the pattern or don't is totally up to you. But we do have these jewels for sale on our website. You just have to contact Stamplistic if you're interested in this. Okay, just like you have your pattern, I like to read them from left to right, top to bottom. If you're creating this pen and we start with the end where the pen comes out, you're going to start the dark side on that end and work this way. Okay, if you reversed it, it would look silly and it would not look as clever. The other thing about that pattern that when I wrote it was for 13 crystals around, okay, because I wanted you to have more information than you needed. If you were only able to get 12 crystals around, you just don't put the last crystal on, okay? So we're going to keep going. And I'm going to, see again, a little bit too much glue. I'm just going to take that and spread it around using that needle tip. Just going to put that next row of crystals in between the two crystals above it and just keep going. Okay. And again, if you feel like it's not going as well as you wanted it to, pull these crystals off, soak them in some soap and water, clean them off, and you can reuse them. It's perfectly fine. The other thing is, after a while, your eyes may get tired because number one, these crystals are very small. They're also very sparkly. There is science behind the fact that our brains don't know where to look when they are looking at something of this magnitude. Each of these crystals has a minimum of 9 facets on it, and our brains don't know where to process to look. So after having looked at these crystals for a while, your eyes may show some signs of being tired, being strained. I love to blink, and I can do it all day long, but the minute it gets dark, I can't see anymore. So do yourself a favor, give yourself some grace. If you need to put your project down and walk away from it, which it's perfectly fine to do so, what I want you to do is complete the row before you set it down. I personally would complete the row. I would put my Velcro on, I would push it down, and I would leave it if I needed to walk away from it. I know this is hard to see because of where the camera is, but this is literally what it is standing up on one end. I've got that Velcro pushed into those crystals, and I'm going to leave it. If I needed to step away for just a few minutes, okay? Again, your eyes may get tired, and you may need to take a break, and that is perfectly acceptable because you're human, and it is okay to do that. What I want you to do is finish the row before you do set it aside, okay? Because then when you're ready to come back, everything will be ready for you to start on your next row, okay? That is the extent of the project. But for just a few more minutes, I'm going to keep going. One of the things I want to say to everyone is that on Stamplistic's fan page on Facebook, we have an album called The Art of Elegance that you can upload photos of your finished project. And I'd really, really like you to do so. It's a fun little way to see what other people have done. It's a fun little way to show off your efforts. Because let's be honest, these are gorgeous. No matter what color combination or what color you picked, it will be absolutely fantastic. The other thing is if it's just not your style to do a single color, all of the crystals that you were provided with are yours to do with what you wish. If you would like to purchase other colors, that is up to you as well. If you so desire to add some color to your pen as you finish it, my suggestion is to go for a while and then switch colors and do another band. Go for a while, switch colors. Another option you could have is to do a few rows with the solid color that you had from the class. And then you could get something else and simply alternate 1 or 2 colors, and as you do that, it makes a spiral stripe going down, which I think is lovely as well. By all means, these finished pens will be absolutely gorgeous with one color. Okay, they are fantastic. They are phenomenal. If you choose to do more than one color, which is perfectly fine, there are lots of options out there as well. This was a very simple pattern I did before, which I don't have that pattern available right this moment as of the taping of this class, but it's a very simple project. Okay, I actually have 3 colors on here. This is a pen I did when I was working on starting this class because I decided if I was going to have a pen, I wanted a katana to match. Again, I've got 4 colors here. Okay, but it's just a pattern that I made up myself. Then, this is one of my favorite pens. This has 6 colors on it. When I picked these colors, the gal said, "Those are crazy colors. Why would you choose that?" And I said, "Trust the process." This is what I call a scatter. In that, because there's 12 crystals around and I have 6 colors, I was able to use 2 crystals of each color. And all I did was place them so that 2 crystals weren't touching each other. And I went row by row, being random with my color choices. How gorgeous is that? Love it. Now, here's the other fun thing. If you've got a katana, using the same process, prepping it, cleaning it, using the alcohol wipe, using your Velcro. Obviously, you change the Velcro size because your katana is a little bit fatter. It's the same process. Now, to do a pen, you need a minimum of 5 gross of 2mm stones. If you just do one color, you obviously just need to be 5 gross of one color. If you decide to do a pattern or multiple things, in the end, you have to have a minimum of 5 gross, okay? If you so desire to do your katana, you only need 4 gross because the katana is 14 crystals around, but it's considerably shorter in order to do that. This is the same pattern on both, okay? I just didn't need as much. Now, here's your next question. Well, how do I bling my katana if I need my katana to bling my katana? Here's the fun thing about these katanas. You hold the pen end, okay, this silver or this gray colored thing. This silver piece screws off, and then you just slide the entire barrel off. Then you can use this piece to bling this. Isn't that fun? Again, you do the same thing where you sand it, clean it with an alcohol wipe, do your foundation row. With this one, it doesn't really matter which end you start on because it's the same both ends, okay? But you use your katana to bling your katana. Isn't that fun? Same process. Wait 7 days for it to cure. Clean it before you put it back together, okay? So let's do another row. Now, I like to chit-chat while I'm doing this. If you don't, if you feel like you can just keep going, by all means. You don't have to stop in between each line of crystals that you do. It's totally up to you. As I'm talking and teaching this class, this is going a little slower than I normally bling because I'm talking. I can truly, honestly do one of these solid color, single colored pens in roughly an hour, start to finish. As you do it a little more often and you become a little better at glue placement and crystal placement, it won't take you as long as it does your first time. But as I said before, give yourself some grace. If this is your first time doing this pen, give yourself some grace. It will be beautiful when it is all done, I promise you. A little bit more about the glue. It doesn't like giant temperature extreme. So I don't know why you would keep your pen in your oven, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to keep it in your freezer either. I think more to the point, you wouldn't want to leave it in a hot car or over the winter in a cold car either, okay? Again, I'm using my needle tip to kind of push them into place and get them where I want them because I don't want to use that wax tip. I want to manipulate everything with the needle tip because it can take it. The wax tip, not so much, okay? And I'm just going to take my Velcro, push it up. I'm not pushing it in the table unless you feel like that's going to be more helpful to you. But using this Velcro applies even pressure so that one crystal is not getting more attention than the others. So I'm going to slide that Velcro off, push on this end of my pen and very gently roll it. Okay. One other thing I really want to talk about, because you won't know until you get there, how you're going to finish your pen. Okay, I'm going to zoom in real quick, because depending on your crystal placement, depending on how close you have your crystals, you will either have space for a last row, like I have on this pen and this pen, or you will not have space for a last row, like I did on this pen and this pen. What I don't want you to do is put a crystal here and have it come over this edge, because if you do, since this is a movable object, you're very likely going to pop those crystals off. If you see here, these crystals do not go over that edge on either of those pens. Same thing here with the pencil. It stops before it goes over that edge. Okay? Like I said, you won't know until you reach the end of your pen whether you're going to put that last row of crystals in or not. This is why I have everyone start on this end of their pen, so that if they can't put that last row in, it doesn't take away from the design. But if you started here and worked this way, you could have that space and then it would be obvious. Okay? I started on this end, so it flows better to get down to this end. That's why I have everybody start on that end. And that's why you won't know until you get down to this end just how many rows of crystals you're going to use. This pen that I did, that's the red pen, was 637 crystals. That's the minimum that you're going to use. And again, depending on what your pattern is, you may have to buy more crystals. The pencil has more crystals than just 5 gross, because you have to buy more of the yellow, plus you have the peach, the black, the silver, and the pink. So you'll have more crystals than you need if you buy those crystals. But in the end, depending on how tightly you place your crystals is what determines how many you need. I like them as close as possible because it makes it more uniform and just really makes those crystals pop. Okay, so I'm just putting a little glue, putting a crystal in the glue, making sure it's where it's supposed to be. That guy wanted to be a little higher, and we don't really want that. Okay. I want them to be as uniform as possible, as consistent as possible. And like I said, if you started out with 12 crystals, you're only going to have 12 crystals on each row. You're never going to go up. You're never going to go down in number. Okay, and I'm just using that metal part of my katana to make sure everybody was where they need to be. How beautiful is that? It's so sparkly. Okay. One last little bit of information. You have a pen. This was the refill that or the pen cartridge that we pulled out. You have 2 refills in your kit. You only have one of these springs though. So as you use your pen and you need to replace it, make sure you pull this spring off or your pen won't click in and out. The other thing is each of these pen refills, including the one that's in the pen already, has a little wax nib here, a little wax tip covering the nib. When you have finished your project, you've waited 7 days, you clean it, then put it back together. Obviously, you don't want to clean it with your ink cartridge inside because then it will wash all the ink away, and that's not good. When you've gotten all that done, before you put this back in, I want you to take your fingernail and very gently pick that wax tip off. I don't want you to pull it. I had one human being that I taught this class to that pulled it and the entire metal tip came off and ink went everywhere. That's just a complication that happened once, but I never want it to happen again. So I just want to warn everyone, all I want you to do is use your fingernail to kind of pick that off. Okay? I don't want you to pull on it. Okay? So finish your project, wait 7 days, clean it, pick your tip off your nib, put everything back together, and voila. Then you'll have your beautiful ink pen. Then if you want, you can do your katana. If you want, you don't have to. But why wouldn't you? Because then you could have a katana and a pen that matched. Because why not? Right? That is what I love to do. I love to have these things with all the beautiful jewels, genuine crystals from Austria. Then as you expand your horizons, you could do fun things like your readers. These are a $4 pair of readers I got on Amazon. But now that I've got all these beautiful crystals on them, they're worth about 50 bucks. And if anybody tried to walk away from me with them on, I would grab them by the ankles and throw them down on the floor. Concept is the same, folks. You're going to prep it. Now, when you go to prep it, I want you to be very careful not to scratch the lenses, obviously. And since these are acrylic, meaning you can see through it, if it was a plastic that you could not see through, that's a different situation. I do not want you to use alcohol to clean this type of project. I don't want anyone, because alcohol causes microfractures in acrylic. And so all of the work that you put into making these beautiful projects will eventually fall apart because you used alcohol to clean them. Okay, it's the same concept though. Prep is key. Do your sanding, cleaning, and then start doing your project. Okay, so I'm just going to put a couple more rows on here just so everyone can kind of see what we've got. And again, dot or line, whatever works for you. Once I kind of get in my groove, I tend to go a little more dot oriented. Okay, I'm just laying that crystal right into the glue dot that I put down. And I don't, because I live in Colorado, I don't tend to put an entire row of glue down, especially when I'm doing these little tiny dots, because it'll dry quicker than I can get my crystal into it. Not because of my speed, but because of where I live and the lack of humidity in the air. Things tend to dry a little quicker. So I'm just laying those crystals. Let's see how he jumped out of place. I'm just going to use that metal tip to push it into place. I also can feel that I have some glue on my thumb of the hand that I'm holding onto my project with. So I know, because I have some right here, that I need to clean this before I get too much farther down. So, using my metal tip to put everybody where they need to go. Then I'm just going to kind of look and see. I'm going to take my Velcro, slide it onto my pen, gently push to get those crystals into the row above them. Take my Velcro off. I can very gently roll my project back and forth. Then I get my alcohol wipe back out. I'm going to clean where I'm working. Okay? And again, not a medical situation, so reuse that alcohol wipe as many times as you want to. Let's do another row. Truth of the matter is, I'm not going to get this project finished before I'm done teaching this class, but I want you guys to keep going. I want you to finish your project. Do you need to do it all in one setting? Absolutely not. Could you if you wanted to? Absolutely. But I do want you to finish your projects because they are absolutely stunning. If I say absolutely one more time, oh my goodness. But they are fantastic. And I'd really love it if everyone could post the pictures. Like I said, Stamplistic fan page. Look under albums and look for the Art of Elegance. Then you can post your photos of your completed pen. Okay. I do hope you've enjoyed this project. It's one of my favorites. But then again, I could sit here and do these pens all day, every day. Okay. Look how stunning that is already. Can you imagine what it's going to look like when it comes to the end? Absolutely stunning. Okay. Finish the row. I'm going to take my Velcro, push it up into there. Gently, don't push it too hard. And then very gently roll my pen. Okay. All right, folks, that is it for today. Like I said, I hope you finish your pens. I hope you love this project. It's one of my favorites because why not? What great gifts these would make for someone. What great gifts this would make for yourself. Okay. All right, folks, that is it. And that's all I've got for you with this class. I sincerely appreciate your time and your effort. Start your pen, finish your pen, post your pen, enjoy your pen. Okay? That's it. That's all I've got. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening whenever you're watching this. I sincerely appreciate you. We will talk to you soon. Thank you.